Bracha. One of the great religious and philosophical issues that's been brought to the forefront by our current pandemic is the efficacy of tefillah. Efficacy is just a fancy way for saying, does it work? On the one hand, we've seen a number of cases where the answer is, yes, it does. People that were in dire straits, in very difficult situations, where medicine didn't seem to have an answer, were helped out by the prayer of thousands of people, those that are close to them, those that didn't even know them, that prayed on their behalf. And we see, wow, it worked. Look, they were saved in seemingly miraculous ways. On the other hand, unfortunately, a number of people didn't get the same result. And even though we prayed hard, and we cared, and we tried, and we did chesed on their behalf, for some way and somehow we say, hey, we didn't get the result that we wanted. We didn't get the same result as we did in the other case. What do we make of this? This week's parasha teaches us a powerful lesson in the efficacy of tefillah. Our parasha is entitled VaEthanan. It is the word that Moshe utters. He says, VaEthanan, I prayed to Hashem. And really it's, I requested, I supplicated, I implored Hashem, please let me go a few more steps. Let me enter the promised land and see it. And Moshe Rabbeinu reports to us, Velo shama elai. Hashem did not listen to me. He did not hear me. His answer was no. And stronger than that, Moshe tells us, Hashem told Moshe, Rav lach, too much for you. Al tosef daber elai od badavar hazeh. Don't speak to me any further on this matter. And what it seems like here is it's unfair. Moshe Rabbeinu was praying for a simple request. Let him take a few more steps and go into the promised land. But Hashem says no. And Moshe's prayers don't work. And the question is why? Why don't the tefillot of Moshe Rabbeinu work? And our Chachamim give a variety of different explanations as to what was wrong about Moshe's tefillah. But I'd like to propose something else. And that is that there was nothing wrong with Moshe's tefillah. And it wasn't true that based on calculations that we understand, Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't get that final step into the land of Israel. In fact, this was a lesson for us, for all of us, for history, to understand about a very important concept, in tefillah. And that important concept is, sometimes the answer is no. Why? We don't know. And that's why this is the perfect case to teach us. Moshe Rabbeinu, by every account, by every explanation, expectation, should be allowed to go in. But Hashem tells him, no, this is a no. And maybe he should have given him a close in and given him that access that Moshe Rabbeinu certainly should have deserved. But Moshe Rabbeinu was an example for us to say, listen, sometimes you're just not going to get it. You could work hard, you can try, you can understand as much as you can understand, but sometimes our capacity to understand is limited and we will not get it. But listen to the last point that Rashi makes on Rav lach. Rashi has a few different explanations of Rav lach, which means it's too much for you, Moshe Rabbeinu. But the last explanation that he gives is to say, even though you're not going to get what you're asking for, there are rewards well beyond what you're asking for that's going to come as a result of your tefillah. And what Rashi is saying is, sometimes we measure the value of our tefillah by whether or not we got what we asked for. But what Rashi is telling us is that's not the power of tefillah. That's not the way we measure our tefillah as to whether or not it's successful or not. In fact, the act of tefillah brings many positives, many benefits, many rewards that are much bigger than what we are asking for. We're only asking for what we want in this moment, at this time. But the power of tefillah expands well past that time and gives us rewards beyond what we could ever dream of. So the message of this week's parasha is that sometimes the answer is no to what we want. But sometimes when we're getting a no, we're getting a yes for things we didn't even ask for. Shabbat Shalom.